I declare this congregation for the conferment of degrees open. Would you please be seated? I call upon the Chairman of Council, Sir Nicholas Montague.
Well, good morning, everyone. It's always one of the more enjoyable privileges of chairing the governing body here at Queen Mary to welcome you all to a graduation ceremony, and I do so most warmly. But this year it is a particular pleasure because we are celebrating the achievements of you, our graduands, in our newly refurbished Great Hall. The Great Hall is part of the People's Palace. While not actually part of the original 19th century Queen Mary building, which burnt down in the early 1930s, it bears the same name. And that reminds us of the university's first purpose, which was to bring education and culture to the people of East London. And I would argue strongly that that still remains a central part of our admittedly much wider purpose to this day. The building of the original People's Palace was made possible by the generosity of the Drapers' Company, and their partnership with and support for Queen Mary remains an important feature of today's university, for which we are extremely grateful. So I'm delighted to welcome the Drapers' Company representatives here today, led by Tony Walker, who is himself a valued member of our council. And I look forward later in the ceremony to admitting to an honorary fellowship Adrian Lance, a past master and a very good friend to Queen Mary. So a modernised People's Palace stands for all that is best in the old and the new at Queen Mary. We never lose sight of our aims and aspirations, but we move with the times. And this year, it is more than ever necessary to move. You will all, I am sure, have seen many newspaper stories about the changes which are taking place in higher education and which are the most radical for a generation. So what will that actually mean? Well, without getting into the detail of what the changes are, I think we would all admit that there is still a great deal that is uncertain. So I can't really answer that question. But as we come here today to congratulate our graduands, I should like to dwell more on what will not change and what needs to be certain for universities, and more particularly for Queen Mary, University of London. I spoke of our bringing education where there had been none before to the people of East London, and bringing education where it is needed, which means where people can benefit from what we have to offer, remains a vital and fundamental part of what we are about. I take particular pride in Queen Mary's strength in what is nowadays called widening participation, ensuring that bright young women and men, regardless of their background or whether there's a tradition of higher education in their families, have the opportunity to study with us. Widening participation also means stretching out to the various communities whose diversity has always brought such richness, both to the East End of London and to this university. The mix of ethnic backgrounds and nationalities, which will be evident as you look around this hall and listen to the names that are read out today, is a huge strength of ours, and it is one which we are determined to maintain amid all the changes that are taking place. Our outreach programs with local schools and our program of bursaries, once again in both cases in partnership frequently with the Drapers' Company, are examples of what we are doing to safeguard our tradition of widening participation. Hand in hand with giving students the experience of studying here goes the challenge of ensuring that that experience is a first-rate one. And that is where scholarship comes in. By scholarship, I mean that we need to go on recruiting people in subjects right across the university, from history to histopathology, whose research puts them in the forefront of their field and who are constantly pushing back the frontiers of knowledge with new insights and discoveries. But distinction in research is not in itself enough. If we are to create that first-rate experience which I mentioned, our academic staff must also be capable of communicating their knowledge to students, of inspiring them with that feeling that they are in on something new and exciting and important. We are lucky in having people whose work puts us into the top 12 research universities in the United Kingdom, but who are also the teachers whom I believe you who are graduating today will remember all your lives. That too is something that will not change, regardless of how the higher education world develops around us. And I do indeed believe and hope, as you graduate today, that your time at Queen Mary will stay with you forever as a memory to be treasured, both for what you have gained in terms of learning and preparation for a career and life beyond the university, whether you apply your learning directly or more indirectly, but also for the sheer enjoyment of life in the university. That is not something to be dismissed lightly. There is real value in having the stolen time that university provides before the pressures of the rest of your lives take over. By pressures, I don't mean to suggest hardship or grind, but your lives and your paths are different from here on. I wish you every success in your paths, regardless of what your chosen one is. I congratulate you on your achievement in graduating today, and I thank you for what you have brought to Queen Mary during your time with us, just as I thank your family and friends here today for their support, which has made it possible for you to be a part of our community. I hope that it is a community with which you will want to keep in touch and to support. We certainly want to keep in touch with you as our alumni, and we will take a real pride in your progress, just as we do in your achievement in graduating today.
Graduands, distinguished guests, colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, may I add my welcome to you to this graduation ceremony for the School of Engineering and Materials Science at Queen Mary, University of London. I should particularly like to welcome the parents, relatives and friends of our graduates whose support I know to have been critical in enabling our students to reach this point. But first and foremost, of course, I wish to congratulate all those graduating today. This occasion is unique for you and one to celebrate and enjoy with your peers, your mentors, and your supporters. Today, our graduands become our graduates. Our students become our alumni, and you will soon be calling Queen Mary your alma mater. That term has interesting origins. Alma mater studiorum, Latin for nourishing mother of studies, was the original name and motto of the University of Bologna in Italy, founded in 1088 and arguably the oldest university in the world. But what is the nature, what are the essential attributes of your university? That may seem a curious question to pose to you now. You have, after all, studied here for several years. You know your way around. You understand the academic strengths of this institution. But what really defines Queen Mary is a question I ask myself repeatedly, because the answer is helpful in guiding us as a university through difficult times in an environment for English higher education that is the most challenging for a generation. So let's begin with our history, which is long and rich. As you have heard, the original People's Palace was built adjacent to the current site 125 years ago this year. Its purpose was the entertainment and education of the population of the East End of London, then, as now, not the most affluent part of the capital. The foundation of the People's Palace benefited from the generosity of the Drapers Livery Company, who have been steadfast supporters of this institution through its many iterations, from technical schools through East London College to Queen Mary College to now Queen Mary University of London. As the names of the graduands are announced later in this ceremony, you will hear reference to the Drapers Prizes, just one indicator of the company's continuing support. I'm delighted that at this ceremony we are awarding the Honorary Fellowship of the College to Major General Adrian Lyons, a former master of the Drapers Company, who has provided inspirational leadership in the development of the Drapers Academy, a project of great importance to us here at Queen Mary. We shall hear more shortly of Major General Lyons' work. But to return to our history, the original People's Palace was described by the London Times at its opening as a happy experiment in practical socialism. It was destroyed by fire in 1931, and the present building, now refurbished, was built in 1937. Meanwhile, Westfield College had been established elsewhere in the capital, devoted to the provision of higher education for women. Queen Mary and Westfield merged in 1989. A few years later, they were joined by the combined medical schools of the London Hospital in Whitechapel and St. Bartholomew's Hospital in the City of London. Now, the purpose of this brief historical review is to remind ourselves that our origins lie in the service of our local communities here in the City and East End of London. To employ a rather overused metaphor, community engagement is in the DNA of this institution. I believe that of all the many contributions that we can and do make to those communities, one of the most important is to be a university of the highest distinction, as judged by national and international standards. We can therefore take great pride in the fact that we have recently been invited to join the Russell Group, that set of institutions routinely referred to as the elite universities of the UK. That academic excellence is reflected in the School of Engineering and Materials Science, which combines an increasing reputation for innovative and acclaimed research in selected areas of engineering and materials science with an educational provision that is very highly ranked as judged by the declared satisfaction of our students. Putting these points together, the history, the academic excellence, provides for me the defining characteristic of this institution, Queen Mary, whether times are easy or tough. To stretch my biological metaphor, the phenotype may change as we acquire new labels and adjust to changing times, but our DNA continues to define us as a perhaps unique combination of a research-led university that bears comparison with the best in the world and an institution that remains totally committed to its local community. This analysis prompts wider considerations concerning universities and their place in society. There is, in my view, a regrettable tendency, encouraged by the new fees regime that will apply from the next academic year, to present a university education as a purely personal and material benefit. We must, I believe, resist this. Attending university should not, in my view, be primarily an exercise in increasing your earning power, though it is likely that your Queen Mary degree will indeed achieve that. Nor is the university experience primarily about increasing your employability, although once again I confidently expect that to be an outcome. Rather, the opportunity and the privilege of attending university is first and foremost beneficial in enhancing the likelihood that in future years you will derive greater satisfaction, intellectual and emotional, from both your professional and personal lives, and that you will be able to make a greater contribution to UK society or to the society to which you return. So as you graduate and leave the comfort, for that is what I hope it has been, of the Queen Mary community, I ask you all to take with you the obligation of being spokespersons for the value of a university education, so that future generations of aspiring students are indeed beneficiaries of the quality of provision from which you have benefited. In short, please be ambassadors not only for Queen Mary, but for higher education as a whole. We are proud of you and your achievements, which place you in the best possible sense amongst the elite of your contemporaries. Take pride in your elite status, but recognise also that it carries responsibilities. You will in turn, I believe, have good reason to be proud of the continuing progress of Queen Mary, both as a seat of learning of the highest quality and as a contributor to our local communities and UK society. Without complacency but with quiet confidence, we at Queen Mary face a future that will include many challenges, but also, I'm sure, major successes. I hope that you will share that future and those successes with us by remaining in close contact with Queen Mary as your alma mater, and that you will be able and willing to contribute as alumni to what I confidently expect to be a continuing rise in the stature, both national and international, of Queen Mary, University of London. Once again, many congratulations. I now call upon Professor Morag Sheikh to present Major General Adrian Lyons, CBE, for admission as an Honorary Fellow of the College.
Chairman, Principal, ladies and gentlemen, I present Major General Adrian Lyons. It is a particular pleasure for me to present Adrian today. After a very distinguished career of military service, Adrian has committed himself in recent years to the support of education, among other things, acting as Chair of Governors for a number of schools in East London. Many of us at Queen Mary have had the privilege of working closely with him on the creation of a new school, Drapers Academy, which is jointly sponsored by Queen Mary and the Drapers Company. And it is for his outstanding contributions to the creation and development of that school that we particularly honour him today. Adrian Lyons was born in 1946. He grew up in North West London and attended Merchant Taylors' School. In his own words, for him, school did not go so well. But on leaving school, he enlisted in the army in 1964 and was then commissioned through Mons Officer Cadet School, Aldershot, in 1966. This led to a highly successful military career lasting 34 years. Initially, Adrian was in the Royal Corps of Transport and travelled widely, including tours in Canada, Germany, Cyprus, Singapore and Malaysia. But after attending Staff College in 1980, he was employed in the Ministry of Defence in posts focused on logistics strategy and management. He worked on the major restructuring of the Army's logistics service that took place in the early 1990s and was transferred to the Royal Logistics Corps in 1992. He was appointed CBE in 1994 for his work in this post. His penultimate appointment was as the UK's Deputy Military Representative at NATO in Brussels during the Bosnia and Kosovo crisis. And his final job was to set up and lead the Integrated Defence Supply Chain Organisation. After retiring from the Army in 2000, Adrian became Director General of the Railway Forum, a think tank and lobby group for the railway industry. This gave him ample opportunity to indulge his interest in and enthusiasm for railways, which, having spent a certain amount of time travelling by train with Adrian, I can assure you are both deep and profound. His wide range of interests include opera, travel, and collecting coins. He has particular expertise in coins of the period 400 to 1100 AD and is producing a three-part series on the coinage of Wessex and Mercia in the late 9th century. Adrian became a member of the Drapers Company in 1995. As you have heard from the Principal and the Chairman, Queen Mary has very strong historic links with the Drapers Company that date from the 1880s, when the company supported the establishment of the People's Palace and its associated technical schools on what is now our Mile End campus. Adrian was Master of the Drapers Company in 2010 to 11 and supported the work of this college energetically throughout that year. During his year as Master, he also took the innovative step of establishing a Master's blog to provide, as he said, descriptions of and general observations on the master's year. This initiative was very typical of Adrian. It was lively, generous and engaging in its style, but offered a very strong sense of the importance and diversity of the work of a modern city livery company. Adrian is currently chair of the governing body of Drapers Academy, a school in Havering that is jointly supervised and strongly supported both by Queen Mary and by the Drapers Company. As chair, he has shown huge commitment to the success of the school and to the well-being of the community it serves. He has played a central role in establishing the school's growing reputation for offering a powerful combination of academic ambition and a strong and supportive community for all its pupils. Having been open for 2 years, we are delighted that the Academy will launch a new sixth form in September of this year, when it will also move into magnificent new buildings. We are immensely grateful for all that Adrian has contributed to this success. Chairman, in recognition of his distinguished career and his services to education, I present Major General Lyons, CBE, for admission as an Honorary Fellow of the College.
Adrian Lyons, I admit you as an Honorary Fellow of the College. Congratulations.
I now invite Major General Lyons to address the Assembly.
Chairman, Principal, Master Draper, and also all those graduating today. Those extremely generous words from Professor Morag Shiak, and it makes me even more conscious that I'm here today as the latest Draper in a more than a century-long association to be honoured by Queen Mary. I'm also extremely conscious that Drapers of very great ability have been so honoured. I've got a lot to measure up to. The work the company and the university has done on setting up the Academy on Harold Hill is just another step in the long and highly fruitful collaboration between the company and Queen Mary. In our joint project, Queen Mary has brought the intellectual challenge and a total commitment to giving young people every opportunity to maximise their potential. Without these key elements, I am absolutely certain Drapers Academy would not have achieved as much as it has over such a short period of time and has so much promise for the future. Thank you for the very great honour of bestowing on me an honorary fellowship. It is the most enormous distinction, both to me and to celebrate the continuing links between this great university and the Drapers Company of the City of London. Thank you.
Chairman, ladies and gentlemen, we now come to the conferment of degrees. I admit to their degree all graduands present here today. I now call upon Dr. Adrian Briggs to present graduands from the School of Engineering and Materials Science in the Faculty of Science and Engineering.
Principal, I call upon Professor David Lee, Head of the School of Engineering and Materials Science, to assist in the conferment of degrees on graduands from the school. For the degree of Bachelor of Science with Honours, Kenneth Nwakude. Amir Alinganbari. Zainab Asif Malik. Kenneth Tobachukwu Zaribe. For the degree of Bachelor of Science intercalated with honours, with first-class honours, E. Min Tan. For the degree of Bachelor of Science Engineering with honours, Sandy Singh Aluwalia. Stephen Anwuzia. Alexander Vincent Xavier Applehans. Annie Bablanian. Mohammed Goes. Ajeen Jeevakanthan. Yong Won Kim. Mohammed Afsher Makshuf Mansour. Tongpul Prafanfan. Rashika Ranmali Vidangama Ratnasuri. Krishanthan Retnaswaran. Vasil Georgiev Vutev. For the degree of Bachelor of Engineering with honours, Ogonniovi Evie Joseph Agwe. Hamza Ijas Ahmed. Jishan Ahmed. Rumie Akhtar. Sarah Anisar Alam. Ward Abdul Abbas Jabir Al-Asadi. Zainab Ali. Satya Gayathri Ananda Vijayan. Recipient of the Preston Prize, Oliver Angle. Koirul Ahmed Anhar. Rayhoz Apadu. Alamijo Ario. Selma Bamber. Shadi Barakat. Rumana Begum Mia. Suraj Dinesh Bhatt. Hui Bian. Samuel Campbell. Sevag Zorab Shamelian. Shahbaz bin Chowdhury. Hong Lian Chen. Chi Shang Shung. Yung Yin Chu. Muhammad Chowdhury. Punit Claire. Sean Andrew Clement. Jack Cohen. Miriamtha Maher Tufik Dardal. Norshin Dastagir. Recipient of the Tony Adey Prize, Yusupina Derudas. Nikita Desai. Sana Yusuf Dudia. Roberta Gandolfi. Michael David Garcia. Simadi Kaur Grewal. Ayush Gurung. Juni Gurung. Kalada Sydney Halliday. Nabil Huluain. Matthew James Levens Hamil. Yuvna Hemu. Josh Hind. Akramal Hock. Mohammed Kashif Hussain. With first-class honours and recipient of the Drapers Company Prize, Adesi Ruby Ihinobi. Min Gu Kang. With first-class honours, Arman Karim. Nader Hussain Munir Khan. Yogesh Kapung Limbu. Pyongki Kim. Mahinthan Kugathasan. Zubaid Kul. Manson Kwok. Darren Lau. Alina Majed Khan. Samuel Dawood Malaki. Federico Malatesta. Hannah Malik. Aparna Manikaratnam. Nafi Okot Masaruka. Michael Damian McMullen. Mohammed Sifat Uzaman Marshed. With first-class honours and recipient of the Royal Aeronautical Society Prize, Mehdi Mukfi. Farsika Nanthapalan. Momen Hamad Mahmood Nazre. Lawrence John Neal. Keith Kit Fei Ing. Julian Eberachukwu Oyelakere. Nikhil Patel. Rehan Patel. With first class honours, Daniel Perez Torres. Nicolas Jean-Philippe Desneufberg. Ayesha Vanessa Plummer. Pasqualina Puglisi. With first class honours, Ashfaqir Rahman. Recipient of the Institute of Mechanical Engineers Project Certificate, Abhishek Ramesh. Anit Samgi Ramgi. Avani Raniga. Malud Sagresh Kavari. Farbod Saidi. Ayesh Kumar. Randy Singh Samra. Kuthaim Santhirababu. Gorihan Satkunathas. Reshan Selvaratnam. Bainan Shahrastani. Roshni Sharma. Jineer Sidhu. Satnam Singh Sidhu. Shyam Raj Sikotra. With first class honours, Simone Simeone. Amrita Singh. Shafali Kalpesh Solanki. Woo Song Son. Vinoth Srikumar. Santhosh Sritharan. Akashdeep Singh Tamber. Jennifer Lee Kar Tang. With first class honours and recipient of the Drapers Company Prize, Xiao Teng. With first class honours, Manosh Thadani. With first class honours, Hannah May Thompson. Andrea Mauricia Tivada. Kei-Jen Sao. Guan Wang. Jamie David Witts. With first class honours, Oscar Walnuth. With first class honours, Jonathan Wright. Human Youssef Zadeh. Nazir Zahan. With first class honours, Zulfadli Anwar Zainal Abidin. Nazi Ahmed. Ahmed Said Ali. For the degree of Master of Engineering, Yafet Teklesgi Abe. Mohammed Ghulam Azam Ambia. Saeed Jama Bail. Rahil Ektar Bokori. Nicholas Boyd Gibbons. William David Brown. Amina Ahmed Chowdhury. With first class honours, Tanwir Siraj Chowdhury. Jiu Ku. With first class honours, Alea Naz Farhangnia. Sasinidu Vidura Fonseki. Bruno Nanaswaran. Ravinash Gopalu. Alin Irving Groom. Yuvna Hemu. With first class honours and recipient of the Leverhulme Prize, Graham David Hughes. Sadiq Hussain. Sabir Yohan. With first class honours and recipient of the Frederick B. Waldron Prize, Sakib Raza Jivani. With first class honours, Rasik Vishram Kanji. With first class honours, Kayum Khan. Joseph Ndungu Kiari. Wei Kit Kong. Nivede Kuganendaran. Ahmed Adil Labib. Fu Lei. Adio Amarachi Lekwua. With first class honours, Jinsei Lee. Omar Mahmood. Arsham Mahmood Awan. Recipient of the Institute of Mechanical Engineers Project Certificate and the Tony Adey Prize, Yusra Malik. With first class honours, Abdi Fattah Abba Abdallah Meyer. With first class honours, Kurban Mohibi. Michael Don Nullud. Miriam Nwezi. With first class honours, Akuna Adebi Jane Naziko. Francis Ogachukwu Obizuliki. With first class honours, Oluwasian Oyakuni Ogunle. Olawafiseo Adiola Olayanju. Tolulopu Akenteo Alawatudimi. Sinan Ozatin. Dipen Hitesh Patel. Recipient of the Tony Adey Prize, Paul Brian Peacock. With first class honours, Hema Phillimore. With first class honours, Mohammed Shafayet Rabi. Komal Chandulal Rabdia. Karthik Ravichandran. Jose Rodolfo Realpe Velasquez. With first class honours, Cleopatra Nakamya Sali. Manpreet Singh Sandhu. With first class honours and recipient of the Principal's Prize, Anita Ajit Shangani. Alicia Sanazaro. Mohammed Abu Saeed. Kyokin Shi. Kethi Shankar Soryakumar. With first class honours and recipient of the Principal's Prize, Avish Shajor. Benush Tavani Tirani. With first class honours, Chinea Princess Udeze. With first class honours, Han Wang. With first class honours and recipient of the Drapers Company Prize, Han Wang. With first-class honours and recipient of the Principal's Prize, Izuru Chatharanga Wiajasingh. With first-class honours, Guang Chan Wu. For the degree of Doctor of Philosophy, for a thesis entitled Forced Convection Condensation Heat Transfer on Horizontal Integral Fin Tubes, including effects of liquid retention, supervised by Dr. Adrian Briggs, Claire Louise Fitzgerald. For a thesis entitled Temperature and Comfort Monitoring Systems for Humans, supervised by Dr. Peter Dabnitsky, Maria del Pilar Garcia Soto. For a thesis entitled Numerical Investigation of the Effects of Free Surface Flow past Submerged Bluff and Streamlined Bodies, supervised by Professor John Williams, Zahir Ikram. For a thesis entitled Modelling Studies on Biological Tissue Properties and Mechanical Responses under External Stimuli, supervised by Professor Wen Wang, Yang K. Liu. That concludes the conferment of degrees from the School of Engineering and Materials Science and from the Faculty of Science and Engineering.
I call upon the Vice President for Education and Representation of the Students' Union, Mr. Oscar Williamson, to address the Assembly.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Hello, graduates. It's a great pleasure to see you all graduate today. I think coming to Queen Mary was the best decision that I ever made. I've had a great time here, and I hope you have too. When I was small, I decided that I wanted to study engineering, mainly because I liked diggers and aeroplanes and large buildings and bridges. But it was made clear to me over the time that I didn't have your mathematical ability to safely build anything that could affect so many people. So I came to Queen Mary via a different route, and I took the brown hood of a BA in International Relations last year, and I've spent the last year in the Students' Union. But looking at the people here today, I realized just how many people I know here, despite not having taken engineering myself. And I think that highlights the best thing about university. People from all walks of life come together here, and our reasons vary, and our subjects vary, but we read and write and work in the same lecture halls and in the same library and on the same campus. As well as an in-depth knowledge of your subject, you build up memories and friendships here that stay with you long after you leave this hall. University is very different to school. The hard parts about university are completely different, because unlike school, they're entirely self-inflicted. Because you all decided to come here, and you all decided to study what, to me, is a bafflingly complex and difficult subject. The hard parts are quite different. It's up to you how hard you work, and for how long, and whether you go to the park or the library, and whether you wake up for your 9 o'clock lecture at Wednesday morning in rainy Mile End, or whether you stay in bed until 2 in the afternoon. So you had all of these opportunities to try a little bit less, and care a little bit less, and do a little bit less. But you all decided to do a little bit more, and that's why you're here, on the verge of another transition, and one for which I think you're all very well equipped. It's an honor for me to congratulate you on your graduation. You've all done a very good thing, a great thing, and I wish you the best of luck in the future. Thank you.
Before I declare the congregation closed, I'd like to invite the family, friends, supporters of our graduates today to rise and collectively join us in congratulating all our graduates today. Now, graduates, it is your turn. Would you stand, face your family and friends, and thank them? I now declare this congregation closed. Would you all please remain standing as the platform party leaves the hall?